Hi, Deborah Callahan here. And today I would like to introduce you to a very interesting person, Carolina Cummins, who is an energy healer and self-love mentor who lives near Hamburg, Germany. Is that correct, Carolina?
That's right. Yes. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I was hoping you could shed some light on your work and how you empower people to live their lives fully, particularly after loss. So, what is the one thing that you would say that you tell people that you help people with in order to live life fully?
Well, for me, the most important thing is that we are able and truly are loving ourselves unconditionally. And this is not a common thing. It's very few people who actually have achieved that. But I know because my journey was from coming, from when I was young to not love myself at all, to actually thinking I am totally unlovable. I have no value. There's nothing here I can give. And really needing love a lot, and I was coming from that and then severing myself and freeing myself from that bind, from that need. And therefore, because I've done my own journey and I now know exactly what people need in order to do the same thing. So my passion is really to help you to come back to your own heart, to your soul, and to your own love that's always there present for you.
Beautiful. So, how do you start that journey with people, or how did you do it? How did you do it for yourself?
Okay, when I didn't know anything at all and I had no help, no coaches, no mentors, anything, I had the experience of feeling so triggered because my boyfriend, again, for the X amount of time, stood me up, didn't, come when he said he was lying to me, and I felt hurt.
Mm.
And I had this probably 3 times a week. And every time I felt hurt, I would go and feel it, and I would connect with it. I could imagine, I could feel this tumultuous emotion going on. It was so strong. And that for me was the alarm bell. If, I can't be living my true self right now here, because if I was living from love, I would not feel that pain. So I obviously must be coming from my ego self, because there's only the two choices. And then immediately I remembered that I am love. And as soon as oh yeah, but I am love. I don't need his love. Boom, I was back in my own love.
Wow. So you had this awareness when you were young.
And
Wow.
no, I just turned 40,
Oh,
but I
okay.
actually, I did have the awareness. It's true that I never forgot that I am love, even though in the most difficult times, I would always find my own way back. But, back there, I didn't need someone to tell me, or somehow it was ingrained in me. And that was my pleasure and my bonus, my gift. I don't know what to call it. It was, I know not everybody has got that. And I know some people when I tell them that, but where is my own love?
So how do you help other people to do that?
So the first step is to really know that there is two selves, the ego self and our true divine love that we truly are, our soul self. And to recognize, where am I coming from? Every time, whatever happens in your life, where am I coming from? Am I now coming from love, or am I coming from the ego that has a need usually?
Hmm.
And then acknowledge that emotion. Own it. It's mine. It's here. It's not the other person. You made me feel that way, because that's what we are tending to do. And we always want, if somebody triggers us, we want to blame the other. No, they make me feel that way. How can they put this feeling into you? So own your emotion, and then go deeper and ask yourself, how come I feel this way? When did I feel like this before? Mm-hmm. Does it ring a bell? Does it ring some memory? Oh, yes, of course. When I was young, my father totally ignored me, and I never felt loved from him. He didn't cuddle me or said to me, I love you. And so therefore, I grew up with a belief that I must be unlovable.
Mm. Right.
And that's what needs to be resolved. And then we're free.
Okay. So in order to break those habitual patterns of thought, it's to question whether you're in ego or love.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and it's really what a mental is, the mental level and the emotional level. A lot of people just offer mindset work, But for me, that was never enough. I know it has to be resolved on the emotional level, because it's usually the inner child or even a past life self that is still unresolved. It's still longing for our love. And until it is actually getting our acknowledgement and our love, it will not let go. It will keep on sabotaging us until we are really resolving it on that level.
Okay, so how do you take people there? I'm just so curious as to, do you have a process or?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually became a spiritual practitioner in 2014. And, you know, I learned hypnosis and I learned timeline therapy. I learned some NLP and also a technique called higher self therapy. But I came away and I used them and I felt, yeah, there's some really good results here. But it was too mental for me. I wanted all of our bodies, you know, mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, and the body itself to be part of the healing, you know, a journey. And gradually I used this process of the timeline therapy a lot, and I used it by myself. And when I was in that moment where I needed to resolve it, I got the intuition. I was asking myself, what do I need now? And that was not part of this timeline therapy. Mm-hmm. So the inner child needed to be given what she needed. And that from there, I gradually developed my own soul alignment process.
Okay.
So I'm asking, so I'm talking to the inner child to have her, you know, to give the microphone to her, because she was never asked what she was feeling.
Right. I think that's an issue for many, many people. Do you think your soul alignment process would be helpful for people who've experienced a loss or who are grieving?
Yes.
And how so? How so?
Yeah, so usually if people are having, I know one of my clients, she had a lot of loss. She actually lost a lot of close people in her life through death. And it had become an issue, really. And she was always kind of scared of that would happen again. It was actually with people as well in a relationship, you know, that like her husband to be, like her soulmate to be, they were going to get married and then he dies.
Wow.
You know, obviously we went back into time, and it was going into past lives, because she had a unresolved time in her past lives where that would happen. And because, you know, it was obviously not in this lifetime, and usually is that case with people losing a lot of people through death. There was this fear, you know, because it was traumatic in a past life. And she had to go back there and she had to relive it. She doesn't have to go relive it from an emotional pain point, but she could just observe it from higher above and from further away. And she did that, and that really, really, really helped her. It sort of took the emotional charge out of that, the fear, you know, of losing him again. You know, if she has a new boyfriend, always that underlying fear, will I lose him again, kind of thing, you know?
So, so I'm going to interrupt, because my question is, so, you know, do we recreate those situations in our present lives in order to move through what we haven't healed in a past life? Why is it necessary to go back to the past life in order to heal it?
Because if we are going back, sometimes if we are only going back to say the actual event, so she was maybe already 40 something and lost her to be, you know, her husband to be. And because our subconscious mind is programming us in the first 7 years, so these are the most strongest events. So if no death has happened in the first 7 years, it's not in this lifetime, the programming won't be as strong. And if we just release, say, that event when she was 40 something, it's not totally gone, because that event was actually created from the root cause, which was in 3 lifetimes ago. And, you know, if there is people who say, oh, I don't believe in past lives, I couldn't go there, okay, then it will not be quite gone. It will be better, but maybe just 60%, whatever, you know?
So are you saying that everyone should do past life regression therapy in order to heal those blockages in their current life?
not necessarily, it's not necessarily a past life regression, because I've actually had a client who did that, and she said to me it was not as effective as the work that we were doing with the soul alignment process, because there's another part to it what I do. So it's not just giving our past self the thing that she needed in order to let it go, but I also guide my clients to go to the soul level in order to get the full healing, which means she's actually detaching from her ego self as that human, and she's going to the higher level, to the soul level, to see the higher picture. How come I was going through this experience? What did I want to learn? And then getting the learnings will free her from having to do those learnings again and having the same scenario again.
Okay, so it's you that is accessing the past lives and helping her to see why it's coming up again in this life.
No, she needs to experience it for herself, because otherwise it's not valuable. I don't want to be the one who's telling her anything. I only guide her, and I ask her the questions. What does she need now? I'm not telling her anything, because if it's not authentic for her, it's not going to be effective.
Okay. So how do you make people aware of the stories that they're telling themselves that keep getting in their way, other than past lives? There are, the stories that we tell ourselves that get in the way of really living a full life. How do you navigate that?
Well, it's usually starting with a trigger, like for me, my biggest trigger was when somebody doesn't respond to me, stands me up, doesn't come to the meeting and so on. I felt not wanted. And everybody can probably relate to that. We've got certain scenarios that keep coming back, and we always feel a certain hurt. Usually it's hurt or anger, inner pain. And that's where we start. So we start with the biggest emotional trigger that my client can experience at the moment. And then I guide her back to feel that emotion. So which is, usually starting in childhood. And because of the way the parents were, or maybe because of the lack of a parent not being emotionally available. And so it's the emotional tumultual feeling. It's the giveaway. There's a big unresolved issue that really needs to be healed.
Okay.
And in order, and then maybe let me add to in order, and then when you do that, you are creating something. It's basically like you are leaving a cloud, that you are moving away a cloud that's in front of your light, which has been hindering you, or in me, in the past, to feel my own love.
Okay. So once you're able to truly get in touch with your emotions, then you're able to open that up and be able to love yourself completely.
Yes. And it's not once, it's not enough. There's usually several big triggers, that we need to remove in order to reconnect with our own heart and our own soul.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift to be able to lean into those really hard emotions and be willing to feel them really fully. Most people don't want to do that. They push that away, it's like even grief, they push it away, they deny it, they do anything other than feel it. So for those who, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's the saddest thing in humanity, even, because we were actually taught that in school and society by peers. We were laughed at, when we feel emotional, we were labeled whatever, and that's the sad thing. So we have to now become aware of, am I doing that? Am I holding back on emotions? That's maybe the very first step. Am I not allowing myself to feel the emotion? Am I pushing it away? Am I distracting myself? Am I avoiding it? Maybe even lying about it in your relationships,
Do you have any other advice that you would give people who have lost someone, or people who are going through trauma, to help them make sense of the loss that they've had? Maybe people who have lost people to COVID or things like that.
So if somebody has actually died, if a loved one has actually died in your life, look, maybe recently, I mean, I've lost a sister in 2010, but I probably am very different from most people, but what I know, what's helping you and what's not helping you. If you are really hanging on, clinging on to the one who's gone, who's actually left the physical plane, if you are attaching yourself and holding on, then you will for sure experience a lot longer grief than that's natural. And I can say to you, a lot of people I know don't want to hear this. They even think by holding on, they are honoring the person who's gone. And my truth is, from what I've experienced when my sister died, is the sooner I can let her go and be herself and let herself be free in her soul state, the easier it was for me and for her. And so, you know, to keep the memory alive, the loving memory, send so much love to the one who's died, and send all your, you know, maybe your beautiful memories, keep them, sure. But you don't need to hold on to, I want her back, I want him back, because that's coming from the ego realm. It's absolutely, everybody's able to love another person from the soul realm and from the heart, instead of from the ego. And when they can do that, they are cutting cutting back the emotional pain.
So, but if you're really feeling your emotions, and there are a lot of emotions that come up when we lose, there's a lot of emotional pain and a lot of emotional suffering when we lose someone. How do you do that and at the same time let them go?
It's like a process, you know. So first of all, honor yourself and absolutely love yourself for what you're feeling, and love those emotions. Give, you know, the worst thing would be to label them, judge them, or anything. Of course not. So you go through your process, and you know, when you're crying so much, you have the awareness of what is causing my greatest pain here. Mm-hmm. And that's the trick, really, because you will probably, if you're really honest, you will feel it's because I can't let them go. It's because I feel so alone. I feel so left behind. I feel abandoned. I feel nobody's loving me now. You know, it's all about the little me. And that's the biggest pain. The little me will feel the biggest pain.
So what were the steps that you took in grieving your sister? What was the shift for you to say, okay, I'm sitting with my emotions, I'm feeling my pain, and now I need to let her go? And did you not feel pain after that?
Well, I had an unusual experience, because when my mom told me that she died, the first thing I felt was joy, because I could sense her above me, actually somewhere, being her old self again before she got cancer. Because her mental and emotional attitude changed when she got ill. She was different. And we had so much fun. We laughed so much together, and she was like that again. That's the first thing I felt. And I was so joyous that she was back being her true self.
Okay.
And yeah, and I didn't hold on to her. Because I had that, I was so happy to let her go, and I didn't want her to suffer as she did. It was really, really horrible the way she was suffering, you know. So it was maybe easier to let her go, because I didn't want her to be in the suffering state.
So if she had died suddenly and unexpectedly in a way, do you think that would have been different for you?
Well, because again, I know that we are a soul in a human body, and that has helped me all my life. If you don't know that, it will be a lot harder. If you think you've only got one lifetime and you only have this one body and you're the ego mind, then it will be very hard. But as soon as you remember that I'm also a soul living in this human body, it becomes much easier, because then you know this is not the first life or the only life, and there will be more.
So I'm of the opinion that our loved ones are always with us in spirit, and that brings me great comfort. You know, so how does letting go and realizing they're here at the same time make sense?
Yeah, see, there's exactly that. The infinite, we are all connected with the infinite spirit, and we are all part of the infinite spirit. So if someone dies, they have only left their body, and we can still contact them in their soul form. We can talk to them, we can call them. And I know many people tell me that I see butterflies a lot, and I know it's my mom being around, for instance, you know, and even mom died like 40 years ago. So we are never connected from them. It's not possible because we are one spirit. And at the same time, when we are in our ego self, though, the ego self will suffer if we are not letting go and actually letting that spirit and that soul go and let them be where they want to go, you know?
Be free.
Yeah, be absolutely free. So the ego self might want to hold them here in the earthly, you know, they want. I know some people even remember the death of a loved one year after year after year after year for decades. I wouldn't advise on that because it's actually not helping the soul and it's not helping ourselves. So if we can have the choice to live from the ego self or from the soul self. And if we live from the soul self, it's always going to be a lot easier and more loving and more peaceful.
Mm-hmm. It's true. So I think that, you know, definitely, they leave us gifts. And if we can accept those gifts and detach in a way, you know, we could be birthed into a new version of ourselves to live our life moving forward. So
that's
beautiful.
it. And you see, what's important that in order to detach, we need to let go of our needs, isn't it? But I need you to be with me. I miss you forever. And you know, saying that is not helping, really, isn't it? Because it's impossible to detach if we won't let go of our need to have that person. And it's always the need that is hurting us, and that stops us completely to be ourselves, to be connected to our heart and to our infinite soul self.
So when you think of your sister now and the absence of your sister now, do you ever feel pain?
No. I just don't have it. I know because I'm so sure. I just know she's gone, long gone, you know, she's gone back to where she came from her original soul level where she wants to be, you know. And I know she's exactly where she needs to be. I don't want to hold her for me, but I want you to be here, you know. That would be
okay. So do you think you would be able to do the same thing with your daughter?
I have thought about it a lot, actually, yes. And that I would say I can, but it will take a longer time, you know, because it's a detachment that's on a strong physical detachment as well. But I will absolutely will do that with anybody. And I have almost, I mean, I do things like I prepare myself. If the worst would come, again, I need to let her go. She's a free spirit. I'm not going to be the one who's going to hold her to me or so. No way. Because because I have worked with my ego a lot, and my greatest must do for me, my greatest, what I wanted to achieve in my life was to detach and dismantle my ego as much as possible. And because that was my path, you know, well, you know, I've done a lot of it, and there is actually not much that can upset me now, because I've done that, including losing a loved one.
It's so fascinating to me because for myself, I think having a deep, deep acceptance of the impermanence of things, and a deep knowing that everyone will die, including my children, has made me free in a way that you know, and I've talked about this before, like it's just, and people don't understand that, like, how could you accept that, you know? But it's, you know, I just knew that it was a point that I had to get to, that to understand, like, yeah, it's just, fascinating that
And
everything is
the most,
impermanence, you know?
it's the most freeing thing we can do for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because we are so brought up in this ego world, isn't it? You have your body, you are this personality, you've got this character, you are this person, you play a certain role, and that's who you are. And I find that's living in a box. Because what if I don't want to be a mom anymore, or a wife and the teacher who I was, say, you know, and now I want to be, completely different person. And I could never get into that role if I am choosing to identify with the old role. I need to, first of all, let go of that one and choose, I want to identify with this one now. And of course, there's a path that I have to go, and I have to uncreate a lot of beliefs that don't fit me anymore now in order to get there. But that's the fascinating thing. We can have nowadays, we can, live different occupations. We can have 3 different occupations in our lifetime, if not more. And, and that's, for me, that's expansion. That's infinity, coming closer to infinity.
How do you feel that you're losing your sister? How do you feel that you became a different version of yourself after the loss of your sister?
Probably I noticed I was freer. Because I had this connection. It was very brief, but the connection, how free she was in her soul state. Mm-hmm. And that transmitted something to me, that's the ultimate being. That's how I want to be. I don't want to have anything else. And I could never go back to being in this box, and to just identify with my ego self and the person I am in this lifetime.
Beautiful. Okay, Carolina, this has been so delightful to chat with you. If people would like to work with you or find out more about your work, where can they find you?
I have got a website called liberatinghearts.com, where you can find out the way I'm working with you. You can book a free call. I have also got a Facebook group called Finally Feeling Loved. And you can find me on Facebook, carolina.cummins. And I think you're going to leave a link tree under the video. So there's everything, all the freebies I'm offering, and my website and my Facebook profiles and so on is all there. So I'd love you to try out my heart alignment meditation. It's really for you if you feel you need to find more inner peace. You're maybe a bit anxious, or you're not centered in yourself. It's a meditation that's designed to reconnect you with your heart really very quickly, and to maybe teach the mind there is also the heart, and help yourself to come out of the mind more and go into the heart and stay there and connect with the infinite love that there is. And again, there will be a link on the link tree. You can find it there and sign up for it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I can't wait to try that meditation out myself, actually.
Right.
So
yes.
Thank you so much. It's been a treat to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And yes, have a beautiful journey for the rest of the days this year.
Thank you, Carolina. Bye-bye.
Bye.